How we doing, class? Are we having any fun yet? Well, we're not in person this week, obviously. We are here digitally. I really appreciate the feedback. A couple of the teams did provide me feedback. I think this was a step in the right direction. I mean, just look. I have 6 pages of questions. I think last time I had 10 pages. So, things are trending in the right direction. Let's see how this works out. I want you to compare this video compared to previous videos, and then if this is okay, we're going to go forward in this format. So, we do 2 weeks on CRM each year with this course, specifically because I want to spend 1 week introducing the topic and talking about the virtues of CRM, and another week talking about CRM, but also talking about the potential downsides or challenges or issues with CRM. Now, this was in the back file. It's getting a little dated. These were both in the back file. But there was also a fair amount of negative in all 4 of these articles. There's also a fair amount of positive to CRM. But this is the message that I want to get to you guys, that CRM, customer relationship management, is not software. It is a philosophy. CRM, CLV, customer lifetime management, all these ideas we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks, this is a philosophy. It's not software. In the past, we used to say software and hardware. Now we can just say software. It's not software. In other words, if your firm is not market-oriented, if your firm does not care about retaining existing customers, if your firm does not have a learning relationship, there is no amount of CRM software that can fix the culture and the strategies at your firm. I think a good analogy for this message I'm trying to hammer home to you is every one of us that is watching this video right now has a very good friend or knows someone at work that is a 100% complete asshole. They're morons. They can't help themselves. Now, does Facebook fix their assholeness? Does Twitter make them any less of an idiot? I know you're laughing, but the answer is no. Technology or software cannot fix their cultural deficiencies. And the same thing we can say about CRM and the firms that, try to implement this stuff. If you do not have the right culture and the right philosophy, and you're not market-oriented before you adapt the CRM will fail. It'll just be something else that happens at work. Now, we start hearing that in the first article. Now, Susan and Dave, I know Susan and Susan pretty well. I only met Dave once or twice. They called this relationship marketing, but for all intents and purposes, we are really talking about the same thing. So let's talk about some questions here. Any suggestions on what specific challenges exist when we apply these concepts to internal customers? Ooh, I think internal customers are the same issues that we have. Culturally, they want to stay in their silos. Culturally, they don't have that learning relationship, and they don't want to. If culturally they're more rewarded for new customers as opposed to retaining the existing customers, then that's the issue. Okay? Relating this to last week's discussion about title, is title's concept contradictory to the message in this article? Do consumers really care if Madonna and Beyonce, who are extremely rich, get a larger portion of the revenues from Arista, Spotify, or iTunes? I would argue that they don't care, meaning that consumers don't care. Following the suggestion from this article, it may be a better approach to give the music away for free in order to build that relationship with the fans who spend money on concert tickets and merchandise. Foo Fighters' latest album is free to download with an option to buy vinyl, which is likely exactly what their fans want and care about. Okay. This is a very big and broad question, and I really like the way you are thinking. Now, I'm answering this, not Javier, okay? I'll get Javier to chime in with his own comments, okay? In today's day and age, and we have an article later in the semester titled Free, but this is the freemium model that really works well in the bottom-up world. Now, it just so happens that Madonna and Beyonce and Rihanna and Jay-Z and Kanye are one of the few artists that could probably still charge for their music. Taylor Swift. Okay? But for most other bands, and Foo Fighters is a pretty big band, Radiohead is a pretty big band, it probably is best to give away the music away for free. I think if you want someone to start a relationship with you, the Foo Fighters giving them that much value on the front end of the relationship will get someone else to form the relationship. I think we're in agreement here. I'm going to get Javier to respond to this one as well. With the rise of social media, is email marketing still effective? Yes, 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 yes. Email still has some of the stronger metrics than a lot of stuff that happens in social. There are Twitter streams that you ignore. There are snaps that you ignore. There are Facebook posts that you ignore. But somehow or another, well, it depends on how many email boxes you have, you tend to still go through your email, relatively speaking. Or is building an online relationship via social media platforms a better choice when allocating marketing? I don't think this is an or, though. I think email marketing is a channel, and the social platforms are also channels. Okay? Depending on what you want to accomplish is which channel you use. Believe it or not, email usually is best for when you already have the relationship and they already opted in. Starting the relationship with email is probably not the way to go. But maintaining the relationship with email can be very, very effective. Okay? You see the difference? Social could be more starting the awareness thing, because social is a lot easier to spread. There's a lot more virality to social. So you may have a tweet, a snap, a YouTube video, a Facebook post, a Tumblr to try to attract more interested parties to your message. Remember, social is majority, for a lot of scenarios, searchable. Email is not searchable. There's no SEO or an SEM for email. Hold on. I keep forgetting to take the phone out of my office before I do these. Do you believe that these annoying 30-second ads before you watch YouTube clip negatively affect the relationship with the brand and the consumer? It doesn't help. We call it interruptive advertising. The ads are an interruption between you and the content. At some point in the semester, we're going to talk about native advertising. I'm a much bigger fan of native advertising. Okay? But as long as they let me skip within 5 seconds, I'm okay. And why shouldn't the ads be only 5 or 6 seconds anyway, Why can't companies put aside relationship marketing and focus completely on the quality of the product? Perhaps keep basic market access. No, they can't. We're going to see when we start talking about crowd, it's the relationship and the learning relationship that the companies get all their good ideas to improve on the quality of the product. And believe it or not, there's a lot of mediocre products out there that have much bigger audience, crowd, and market share than the higher quality product. Quality and quality alone is not going to do it. To create a more customer-oriented relationship, do you believe that some companies will simply make their marketing efforts more discreet so customers don't feel swindled or exploited? No, I'm not. We're not in agreement here. There is no way that you need to be discreet. If you are being helpful, if you are providing value, you don't want to be discreet, you want to be direct. And if you are providing value and you WIIFM, there's no swindling or exploiting. And I can WIIFM if I know enough about you to provide value over and above what you are expecting. Will these flawed CRM strategies prevent companies from transitioning its customers to a model that supports mass customization? Yes. You need to have that learning CRM relationship in order to do mass customization well. We're in agreement here. Good question. Do certain companies not require the need to have a relationship with their customers? Yes, there are certain companies that you do not need. Bic pens, you don't need a relationship. You don't need a formalized relationship. There is only so much value Bic can produce, and the majority of it is pretty decent quality at a very low price that you can get anywhere. But to be honest with you, it used to be the case, too, that it was impossible to have a relationship with Bic pen. There wasn't a real good, simple way of doing it. But now you can have and we can talk about typology of relationships here, all right? You can just follow Bic on social and digital and have a very informal relationship with them, and there's still some level of a connection to the brand. Which company do you know that has the best relationship marketing? Harley-Davidson, 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 Harley-Davidson. I think you asked me which company, and I'm going to tell you it's Harley-Davidson. I mean, Harley-Davidson doesn't do a thing without their crowd. But to be honest with you, a lot of these Web 2.0 companies, eBay is useless without their buyers and sellers. Wikipedia is useless without their relationships that they have, both between the editors, the posters, and the readers. In this bottom-up world where Facebook is only useful is if people come in and volunteer content for free to their audience. This is a new model. It's a big deal. Can customer satisfaction be a good indicator for NMA versus ally idea? Well, we have this typology that she has in this article, and it's also in various the other articles, where I don't think customer satisfaction, as per our discussion in the past, is a strong enough indicator for us to be able to tell if someone's going to purposely sabotage us in social or digital, or be do pro-social behavior for us in social and digital. I think loyalty is the stronger indicator. What are the shortcomings of relationship marketing as is currently practiced today? They're listed in all these articles. I mean, this article here, which we're going to get to in a second, is spectacular. I mean, what not to do? Mistakes to avoid. Don't create a new commodity, making it really difficult for them to earn their points. Use dollar for dollar. Don't reward disloyalty. Don't reward volume over profitability. Don't give away everything for the store just to keep people buying in volume. Don't promise what you can't deliver. It's one of the reasons why this article is in your packet. Building profits by putting customers first. What does that really mean? Well, you build long-term profits by really caring about your customers, providing them value over and above what they expect. Right? So if you under-promise and over-deliver, you will end up building higher revenues, therefore higher profits, because you are providing so much WIIFM that people go, oh my God, I'm going to do nothing but buy from this company. I'm going to do nothing but go on vacation to Disney. Oh, I've been to the parks too many times. It's time to go to that resort in Hawaii because I know Disney's not going to mess this up. So I'll pay a 30% premium to go to Hawaii because I know it's going to be Disney, and guess what? I know it's going to be good. My kids will be happy. Aside from what was discussed in the article, what are some other reasons for the marketing team to be so involved in the R&D process? Well, as we are oriented and marketing oriented, and as we break down silos, R&D should not be in some building all by themselves. Neither should the sales team, or neither should finance, or neither should operations. I mean, R&D and operations got to be hand in hand. Well, marketing's got to be involved with this process too. So is finance and accounting, because we got to be able to make this, you can't make an ice cream that costs $35 a pint, even though it might be the best thing in the world, because there's just not enough of a market to buy $35 ice cream. Okay? That's why we're market-oriented. How does relationship marketing need to change to adapt to compete in tomorrow's marketplace? Well, all the pitfalls and all these articles, I'm going to just repeat what I wanted to say. I'll say two things, just real quick. WIIFM. Under promise, over deliver, and more than anything else, you can have these relationships on different levels. Much formalized in a CRM system via email or by a login like Amazon, or less formal through Facebook. I mean, a Facebook like is nothing. Following someone on Twitter is nothing. Is it hard for a large company to maintain one-to-one relationships with every customer? It used to be, not anymore. And sometimes a company's preoccupation with so-called best customers leaves other revenue-generating customers feeling left out and underappreciated. So how do they achieve a balance and make the most of their customers feel comfortable? Well, think about what Netflix does to you. Think about what eBay does for you. Think about what Amazon does for you. Think about what Audible does for you. They use an algorithm to learn behavior and provide value. And if I see value, if I see something, what's in it for me, then I'm, by definition, going to be happy, therefore comfortable. The article specified several objectives that companies need to consider in order to regain customer trust. Which area do you think customers should focus on the most when trying to regain trust? Let me hit pause for a second. More than anything else, the way companies think about the CRM database, they think about the CRM way as a way to market to you even more and not provide value. So in other words, they get your CRM stuff, your loyalty card information, and then all of a sudden, you get spammed both socially and digitally with offer after offer after offer after offer without being specific. I know we have a Groupon question coming up, but sometimes I feel that Groupon does that. They really have no idea. They're just trying to throw a whole bunch of crap at you and see which one of these offers you might check out. In the article, they talked about retaining intimacy. But, I think intimacy is a pretty tough word. I mean, we're talking about relationships, so I guess that's why they use the word intimacy. But really, just say providing value. Once the companies regain the trust of their customers, what other changes will they need to make in order to keep the trust and retain customers going forward? Well, once they gain the trust, there's some brand equity there. We have an equity article coming up. You maintain equity by being consistent and always providing value. If there's no reason for me to consider another cruise line, why would I go on another cruise line other than the one that I had a really good experience with? Okay. I love this article. Well, I love this article too. But I love this article. And the reason why I love this article is because this, on page 127, this endowed progress effect, I've actually done some academic papers, peer-reviewed papers on this effect, and it is real and it is strong. It's legit. And this is something so simple you could do at work. Every one of you at work are trying to do something to persuade your employees to do something, right? Well, the endowed progress effect tells you exactly that. It's buy 8, get 2 free. Well, guess what? Give them the 2 free first. It's so simple. So simple. So in other words, instead of taking 16 weeks to get through the 10 car washes, they do it in 13 weeks, 3 weeks shorter. And the span in between each is quicker. And as they get closer to the 7th, 8th, and 9th purchase, because they already had the 2 free up front, they get closer together. It's like having the wind at your back. I love this article. And this article is so straightforward. What can loyalty programs reasonably do? Love these black headlines. There's 5 goals. What do they not do well? These levers of loyalty that start on page 128. This is persuasion to me more than CRM stuff, and I have a whole slew of persuasion books. Love that topic area. This is a spectacular article. Love it. It would take a lot for me to delete this out of the readings list. All right, let's answer some questions. What is the best or most effective reward program you are a member of? Amazon. It doesn't seem like I'm a member of a reward program with Amazon, but Amazon does the best job of learning and providing more value. Personally, I believe Panera does an excellent job and does many identified things in the article. Worst? There's a lot of worse ones. Oh my gosh. The worst ones are the ones that just spam you. You get email after email after email. I have 5 email accounts, and one of them is specifically for when I do a loyalty card thing, because I don't care what they send to that email account. It's just pure spam. But my good relationships, I'll move out of my spam email, which happens to be my Comcast email, into one of my other emails that I check more frequently. The article articulates my long-standing thoughts about supermarket loyalty cards. Is there any more than the article describes? Are they really that blind, or they just do it because other supermarkets are doing it too? They really are that blind, and they do it because other supermarkets are doing too. And most supermarket loyalty cards, and most loyalty cards in general, are nothing more than a way to give you coupons. However, oh my God, why am I drawing a blank? The largest supermarket chain in the United States, it'll come to me sometime before the end of this video. Their loyalty card data collection is unbelievable, to the point where they do Amazon-like features to the people that are on their cards. They are probably $1 billion to $1 billion a year more profitable than any other retailer, because they're able to provide services, values, ideas, various things to their customers that other supermarkets aren't doing, because the other supermarkets are just spamming you with more coupons. The loyalty card is nothing more than a coupon. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. How have things changed with loyalty programs since writing of this article? Well, when we talk about this article, this was written in 2006. In 2006, we didn't have the algorithms to the level that we have them now. Okay? 2006 was early days. Yeah, we had Amazon. Yeah, we had Netflix. Netflix was just on the bubble there. Yes, we had eBay. But they were not using their algorithms as targeted as they're using them now. That's really the big difference. And the Targets of the world and the CVS's of the world, they use the algorithm to provide value and to learn. It could be the case that Target learns from 150,000 of their customers that if you buy these 3 products, the natural thing that helps these 3 things is product D. Yet there's another 450,000 customers that is in Target's database that have bought these 3 products and don't see that connection to D. And all they have to do is write a blog post or do a video targeted to these 450,000 people. And, I mean, that's pretty much how this article describes it. Yes? Will companies like Groupon disrupt the loyalty program model? Not Groupon. Groupon is not a good company at doing this stuff. You sign up for Groupon because you want the deals. And all Groupon does is throw specific stuff at you. But, you know, how many times in my Groupon feed have I seen, like, nail salons? Like, when are they going to learn that I'm never going to go to a nail salon? Yet, every week I get a nail salon thing. You know, so they're not going to disrupt anything in my eyes. Groupon should be more search engine-like, to be honest with you, as opposed to a complete push model. I think they should be a pull model. If you Google... God, I wrote this a long time ago. Daniel Laddick, let's fix Groupon. Let's see. I'm going to have to get it from here. Let's see if it's still there. Let's fix Groupon's business model. Oh my God, they pulled the article down. Does this website even exist anymore? Sorry, I'm taking a long time here. Let's see if I'm here. There it is. It is here. I'll include this link. Groupon, Google versus Groupon, yet revolutionize or at least fix Groupon's social coupon model. Look, that's me without a beard. I wrote this in 2012. This was 4+ years ago. And Groupon still has not changed. So they have not been Dr. Dano'd. I'll send you this link. Loyal customers are maybe really rewarded because they come in, restaurant, big discount, there's business partners. See, what Groupon does is exactly what this article is telling you not to do. You know, they're giving away their margin, right? They're not creating, well, they didn't do the new one. Let's see. They're rewarding disloyalty. They are rewarding volume over profitability. They are giving away the store. You know, 3 of the 5 things you shouldn't do, Groupon does. I mean, even for the restaurants that use the Groupon, none of them do a good job of retaining those people that come in and try the dinner at 50%. Where's the follow-up? And every one of you have done this. You've tried a restaurant. You've gone there. You had a good meal. You paid half the rate you were supposed to be. Did you ever go back? Did they ever contact you again? Was there any follow-up from that particular restaurant? Why is Nordstrom often so mentioned in marketing-related studies? Nordstrom is one of the 4 or 5 exemplar companies. Disney, Nordstrom, Apple, Harley-Davidson. I'll think of a couple more. Nordstrom is a very, very well-run, market-oriented firm. If you ever have to buy shoes, go to Nordstrom. You know, go to Nordstrom. Real quick story. I'm not going to take too long here. I don't want to take forever. So, a sales associate at Nordstrom. Nordstrom has clients. You know, you actually develop a relationship with the salespeople in Nordstrom. They take care of you. As a matter of fact, we're going to read William Locander later in the semester, and he used to live in Florida, and before Nordstrom was on the East Coast, he still bought all his clothes from Seattle. He had a client out in Seattle, so he would fly out to Nordstrom every so often. But after a while, he stopped flying there. He would just call them, and they would send him exactly what he wanted. Because they knew him, they knew sizes, they knew who he wanted, they knew da-da-da-da. But Nordstrom had a sales associate. This is a true story. He was working with a particular customer. The customer checked out, left the store, and was in somewhat of a rush because he had to go to the airport. Left his briefcase for the sales meeting in the Nordstrom store. He drove to the airport to try to meet the guy and give him his briefcase. The guy's plane already left. He pulled out his credit card, bought a flight to that city, and delivered the briefcase to him. Oh, Ritz-Carlton is another one of the companies that's often used in case studies. That's Nordstrom. No one had to tell him whether he could do that or not. He just did it. And yes, he won an award for that and got promoted. What would be the state of the loyalty program look like for an industry that's never implemented one like before? Ooh, how do you start? How would you start a loyalty program? Well, we're going to start talking about this. They have to opt in, but you really need to provide value. There needs to be a reason to do it. If there's no good reason to do the loyalty program from the consumer's perspective, then it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, it is extremely annoying every time I go into Best Buy. Do you really want to? But there's no reason for me to be part of the loyalty program for Best Buy. Can a loyalty program sway a customer from being satisfied to very satisfied or vice versa? A good loyalty program can make you more than very satisfied. They can make you extremely satisfied. They could make you loyal, and they could make you do pro-social behavior. Yeah, I'm in agreement there. What is a way we can distinguish between a good and a bad old customer? Well, an existing customer that is a bad relationship is someone that costs the company more money to service that customer than they are getting in revenue back from that customer. That is a bad old customer. Okay? In other words, you're losing money, the firm, on the transactions with this customer because it costs too much money to market to them, too much money to service them, given the volume that they purchase back. In regards to customer loyalty programs that start to erode a company's profits based on volume, is it better to eliminate or significantly adjust the program knowing that you may lose a customer or competitor with a stronger reward-driven program? Look, if the only reason why the customer is coming back to you is because you're doing one of the 5 things you shouldn't be doing, then guess what? Either eliminate the program or raise your costs. It's a race to the bottom. Don't go there. If you provide value, you buffer yourself against margin-driven marketing battles and zero-sum games. Do loyalty programs only work well with a B2C model, or can they also work well with a B2B model? I think they work better in a B2B model. Are you kidding me? Now, it's just these are more top of mind, but B2B models? I mean, we already know the business class and the most expensive seats on airlines are all B2B. None of that is B2C. Well, you may be thinking that as a C person, a consumer is actually buying that business flight. But you can also go into in-channel promotions. I mean, any of you that are in retailing that work in the supermarket industry and all those slotting allowances and all the relationships through the supply chain to get that product on the shelves, those are all programs that are done. Kroger is the retailer that's the best supermarket chain with their incredible loyalty data and stuff like that. Knew it was going to come back to me at some point. In your opinion, what are the best loyalty model programs? I think I already answered this question. To me, Amazon is the best of the best of the best of the best. How marketers can best capture the customer's true intentions without seeming being aggressive? By providing value. It sounds very basic, and I apologize. But if you give them something they really want, and having a learning relationship, two-way interaction, bottom-up world, that's where you get these true intentions. Are you using a social media listening tool to listen to customer conversations out there so you can find out ways to add value? I mean, hell, we all go to hotels. We all hate going to the front desk to check in. Well, give me a good plan so I can check in, and as soon as I get geofenced closer to the hotel, the key's on my wrist already, and I just walk up to the door and go, beep, and I'm in. You know? Can we expect an honest relationship with customers when profits will always determine the company level of commitment? Yes. I don't think profits is a dirty word. If you provide value and you nurture a relationship, a sale, revenue, and therefore profit is your reward. And that's the way you need to think about it. Customer first, take care of them, and then we will get what's ours. I don't think they're mutually exclusive. Can we create a loyalty program to attract a customer and then change its modality later? Oh, yeah. Think about, I know it's not a loyalty program, but think about what the Japanese auto manufacturers did in the United States market. Honda was very happy that people were buying Honda after Honda after Honda, customer lifetime value, but they knew they started losing certain customers once they got to the mid to late 40s, early 50s. Why? Because these families got promoted or they were doing better financially and they wanted a nicer car and they really wanted another Honda, but they wanted something nicer. That's where Acura came from. That's where Lexus came from. That's where Infiniti came from. Those are brands that were created for the U.S. marketplace. Go to Central America and try to find an Infiniti, and it doesn't exist. I remember going down to Panama. They're starting to show up a little bit. Recently, it was a couple years ago, and to see the Lexus LS, 460 in a Toyota dealership and with a Toyota name on it. To see Infinitis marketed as Bluebirds, like the Nissan Bluebird, instead of the Q30. Do you have a respectable product service line and a reliable business model? Is that important to have a loyalty program? Yes. See, to me, a loyalty program is one of the basis of a learning relationship. You need a learning relationship. If you don't have a learning relationship, you're not going to find ways to find value. Apple basically does not have one. They do not have an explicit loyalty program, but Apple has an explicit learning relationship with you. It's in the store. It's called the Genius Bar. It's online with the chat and tech support. Loyalty programs are not a thing of the past. They are not a thing of the past. Learning relationships is probably number one. If you don't have a learning relationship in a bottom-up world, you are screwed. End of conversation. Write that down in your notes. What are the most advantageous and disadvantage of a loyalty program to a company? The articles list these. That's what this article is. What are the most common pitfalls to avoid when constructing a loyalty program? Team. It's the last 3 pages of the article. As stated in the article, loyalty programs for promoting existing customers to make their next purchase, winning back lost customers, and driving users, But if companies or brands spend the same amount of money on making new customers, would they make more profits? No. It costs more money to market to new customers. New customers do not buy as frequently. There's no doubt progress effect. New customers do not buy in larger baskets. New customers do not do the same pro-social, word-of-mouth behaviors, i.e. the toolkit article that we read last week, than new customers. You know what I'm talking about. It is much better to retain existing customers and learn than it is to always try to get back, try to find new customers. When you always have new customers, there's no learning in the relationship for the R&D, for the services, for anything. You're spending all your resources, a la AOL did way back when, just getting new customers. All right. Very good. All right. Marketing when customer equity matters. I have a feeling you guys didn't like this article as much. This is somewhat like a toolkit article like from last week. These guys are modelers, meaning that when you read the marketing science version of this article and not the Harvard Business Review of this article, I can't read it because it's all in Greek. You know, but I like this was in the spirit of this class, you know, they tried to determine the big picture, right? And it came back to the same thing. And if you look on page 121, you know, the logic behind the equations, we gain equity and we learn through relationships, and that's where we gain longer term value. It's cheaper to market to existing customers, period. Is it possible to create an effective marketing tactic that can boost sales in the short term and in the long term also benefit the buyer and seller? Well, you might get one short-term blip, but usually short-term tactics is not something that's going to help long-term anything. I mean, that's why it's a tactic and not a strategy or a philosophy. Seems logical to tie marketing expenditures to accurate measures of impact and performance. Why has not doing so been so tolerated? You need someone within the silos, okay, to go across silos to even get the data like this, like the article we had last week. Remember in the article last week, they did those experiments. They were providing 15, 20, 25, 30% returns. They were only using 5 or 10% of the total customer population. The company didn't trust them. The company didn't want to do it. The company didn't want to think outside of the box. You know, in order to do something like this, it needs to be part of the culture of the company, which is why Amazon can do it. But this was probably some kind of a rogue project within Wachovia that the one author, it's probably Daniel. Somewhere they list the authors of these things. Is it Daniel? Daniel is a senior vice president and director of statistics and modeling for Wachovia. So he probably just, because he was high enough up the totem pole, he had access to the data, had enough conversations with a professor who's a modeler, and said, well, let's see what happens. Wachovia went out of business. What kind of influence did its marketing have on the poor decisions? Look, in a siloed world, marketing is one of the silos, and 3 people doing a rogue project cannot save a company if their assholeness makes them still an asshole. Wachovia did a lot of other things, and Wachovia ended up, they didn't completely go, didn't they get bought? Did they get bought or did they completely go under? Let me check real quick. So, Wachovia was not market-oriented. They got busted up in the financial meltdown of the century, and federal regulators forced them into the arms of Citigroup. You know, for spurring that shock of winning, as Wells Fargo wrote in a richer offer. So they're part of Wells Fargo, but you know they got caught in doing all the stupidness and not being market oriented. You know, prior to the financial meltdown, and that was enough to put them under. Christmas. I don't know what that is. Okay. You know, could the people within the marketing silo said more? Did the people in the marketing silo have enough clout on the totem pole of Wachovia? No. How do you know when it's the right time to go out and acquire new customers as opposed to investing in your existing customer base? In addition, does customer equity hold more value than brand equity? Customer equity holds more value than brand equity. I mean, I would easily put page 121 as the answer to that, compared to the things that are listed on page 120, what goes into the model. Now, in the true bottom-up CRM world, Your existing customers should be the one finding your new customers. It should be, a la the article last week, pro-social word-of-mouth behavior and recommendations to a more pull model than a push model. You know, that's to me one of the dreams of the Web 2.0 bottom-up model. It is pull to acquire new customers than it is to push to acquire new customers. How do you feel as though, do you feel though as customer satisfaction is actually directly controlled by marketing and sponsorships, and sponsorships are indirectly controlled? For example, some companies hire a licensing company solely for sponsorships. I don't know what to say here. Sponsorships, I don't know if they're really indirect. I'm agreeing with you on the front half. I kind of don't know what to say here. I don't see that they're indirect, even though they're... Because sponsorship contracts are so well detailed that although someone else is doing it, what is being done is completely known and controlled because the amount of legal that's involved with it. A lot of the companies that do the licensing really are not companies either. They are licensing entities. You know, Polaroid, for instance, doesn't exist as a company anymore, but it exists as a brand that if you want to go buy a Polaroid television, you can. It's bananas, but yes. With modern day technology and analytics, how is it that quantitative models are only just focused on within the marketing function, even when the 2008 this article was published? Has there been a central use of quantitative models since there is... God, where's my finance students in class? This was not a finance student that asked this question. I mean, the quant jocks that are happening within finance is unbelievable. The quant that's happening within the supply chain is unbelievable. This is just a marketing professor, and I'm a marketing professor, so I tend to be giving you more of my lens. Oh, but there's a lot of it out there. Oh my gosh. We're even starting to see Moneyball-like HR algorithm models at corporations. Although that's not that well developed. Especially compared to... Supply chain is brilliant stuff. Go study... I got at least some of you took some of those Professor Ornstein and Professor Renew's classes. You know. Even KV's business intelligence stuff is all here. Do you think that part of what Covey's fall could be a result of inability to respond to identify marketing mix properly? Sure, it was part of it, but that wasn't their primary challenge. You know, they were doing lots of the legal, unethical, ethical, that all the other financial firms that were doing. I mean, companies that have been around for years went under. So... Are most companies concerned about maximizing a new customer acquisition's equity in the short term as demonstrated by... Yes. Almost all companies are concerned about maximizing new customer acquisitions. You know, because it is a metric that Wall Street asks for every 3 months. When referring to allocating more time and money to different resources, what is typically the highest resource that companies will invest in? Now, it depends on the company and also depends on the silo. But, you know, we can go to operations and R&D and, you know, if you want to talk about marketing, usually we're talking about television advertising dollars. I just saw a forecast, by the way, in Ad Age, that 2017 will be the year when digital outspends network TV. They're forecasting it's going to be this year. How frequently do these models need to be updated for a changing business provider? In my head, Google's algorithms updated 600 times a year. In my head, you don't create this model and don't do any feedback loops and don't update it. I mean, if I was on this Wachovia level, once you have the model, you can keep feeding the data into it every damn day. Nothing wrong with that. The new marketing is, speaking of this book starts off with the Houston Rockets and how they have been tweaking their environment, their algorithm. They started in 2006, 2008. They're almost at 10 years on tweaking that algorithm. And every time they get more data or new insights, they change the algorithm. New marketing is really about educating your buyers and making them aware of something that they're missing out. I don't agree with that statement at all. We're not in agreement here. No. Marketing is about find out what people want and give it to them. Marketing is about WIIFM. I'm not sure we're in agreement here. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not in agreement here. How do we define customer equity in the short term and in the long term? How do you think it varies by industry? This one I'm not really going to be able to be that helpful with. In the short term, they're just looking at revenues here. The long term, we can look at a lot more things. I mean, the percentage of customers that have been with the firm for more than X number of months, the percentage of customers that have recommended and brought in customers, new customers that have lasted for X number of months. I think you could think about this in terms of, involvement. That's an academic term. In other words, if we're talking about banking, if we're talking about healthcare, if we're talking about things that are more difficult to switch, things that are more cognitively invested, then that's radically different than a consumer product that you could switch every 3 to 4 months. How can companies ensure that their marketing tactics improve performance, do not harm a customer? Well, if we're learning, do we have a feedback loop? Are we hearing from customers? Are there complaints in social? Are we getting more emails? Is our 1-800 number being hit? Are we starting to see that in our social media listening platform, our negative sentiments is increasing? If we're market oriented, we're constantly looking for stuff like that. Wachovia's model was helpful to the company in making better business decisions. Are similar models not as useful to other companies, specifically companies that are more quickly evolving and adapting to market changes, such as tech companies? No, I think tech companies who have an algorithm can adapt quicker because the algorithm is telling them that. I mentioned earlier in this semester about those companies out in San Francisco that have started doing this stuff with fashion now. And Google the article, Moneyball Fashionista. And the tech companies are making decisions quicker because they have better sources because the algorithms and the learning relation happens faster. And these companies are culturally, are more into change because they're more using the external data sources and they're more following that path as like a learning relationship as opposed to an internally focused, I only have the model, this is how we do things, I'm not changing unless the building's on fire. Do you think incorrect results from a marketing mix model could lead to poor decisions resulting in a company going out of business? Well, if you have bad data going into making the model, then guess what? It will lead to poor decisions by definition. But I don't think that's what happened to Wachovia. I don't think the model that this guy built and tested that Wachovia probably did not adopt is what made them go under. Okay. I'm going to take a quick pause. Be right back. Okay. Last article. Last set of questions. Again, we have Jill and Susan. Was Jill? No. Again, we have Susan. This is the first one with Jill. Like this article. This article reminds me a little bit of the value article we talked about earlier. Lots of very good, it echoes this article with, relationships and really love this idea here. This is a 2x2 matrix. All these various types of relationships. Love the idea of The other articles talked about upselling or cross-selling or moving people from relationship to relationship. We saw that in the toolkit article from last week, how if we can get people from various categories to get to this category, what that means. This is a solid article. Big fan of this one. 2 years old? 2 years old. Pretty good. All right, let's see what they have to say. All the examples in this article focused on consumer relationships as opposed to B2B. Now, to be direct, it's easier for us to get data on consumer relationships, which is why they went that route. You saw how they collected the data. Are there significant differences applying these concepts to these other types of markets? I do not think there are significant differences applying to these concepts to other markets. And usually in B2B relationships, there are more partnerships, there are more relationships. It's easier to form the relationships. Now, B2C relationships, there might be more of them. B2B, some of these relationships might be mutual exclusive because once you buy a certain aircraft engine, you're not switching the engine. Okay? No, but I think a lot of this could be directly applicable to B2B. I think they did a solid job here. What kinds of industries commonly have adversarial relationships with its customers? How's that cable contract you have? You happy with that cell phone bill you get? Where the company kind of has you at arm's length? God. Think about the one number you need to know article. Think about all those relationships where you're kind of forced into something. I mean, do you fly in and out of Newark a lot? Are you really that much in love with Continental? But you just fly them because they're the greatest number of flights from Newark or Continental? How can a brand switch to its target customers and expand the target by using this strategy? If the brand learns where its customers are currently and then can figure out what their target customers, their aspirational would be, you can devise a strategy to move them from one of these quadrants to another quadrant. To move them from a stranger to a fling, from an acquaintance to a casual acquaintance to a teammate. You can create strategies to do so. Do CRM software today integrate with social networking sites? Yes. And it's starting to do it even better. Is there a danger to doing that? Why? Providing that the consumer opted in, i.e. American Express asked what your Twitter handle was, you agreed to give them their Twitter handle, and in return they provided benefits to you by allowing them to track your Twitter social feed. Is there such a thing as developing too deep of a relationship with a customer the company knows too much? As long as it's a mutual benefit relationship and that the consumer opts into everything and the company does a good job with transparency and providing value, I think the relationship can be very deep. But it's got to be voluntary. Do you think that more companies can benefit or hurt from the Harley-Davidson approach to personal one-on-one? Gosh. There is so much to learn from Harley-Davidson. There is so much that Harley-Davidson does well and right. There is so much from branding to distribution to R&D to marketing. Harley-Davidson probably spends 50%, 75% less in marketing than does the other motorcycle branch just because of the relationships they have with their customers. What group department should be first to become educated with the customers besides marketing and sales? I want you guys to start thinking about this question differently. We are market oriented. I want to get away from groups, departments, silos. There is no first, second, or third here. I want to get away from that. I'm not a fan of that. If too much data is gathered, will customers approve of it? If they approve of it, then data can be gathered, is the way I look at it. Customers need to approve. They need to opt in. They need to know in advance what they're doing and what they're going to get out of it. And then you can gather all the data you want. Companies engage IT firms to provide managed services. And in this case, let's assume that this is the customer data capture part. Okay? The IT firm is the outside entity. It will be mostly concerned with only providing its primary service efficiently, not worried about the company's strategy. What steps would the company take to ensure that this managed service provider is also oriented to the company's strategy with respect to the customer relationships? Well, the IT firm, maybe they're just collecting but they're not storing. Maybe the IT firm is just collecting and not holding the algorithm to provide the insights. You know, there's a million scenarios we can talk about here, but the collecting of the data is the least value added of the entire process. You know, as long as there's no way that the IT firm can blow the relationship, i.e. their databases are compromised, their collection processes are too pushed, you know, then I don't have a problem with this. I really don't. Hold on. I need to pause. I'm sorry. I'm running out of breath. All right. When and how does a marketer, CRM manager draw the line for customer profitable one abuse? How much can a company, firm, brand take? Customer abuse. Okay. Now, I'm assuming... Now, this is abuse from the customer's perspective. A profitable one. You know, if it's within the corporate culture and it's within the relationship parameters that customers are not allowed to behave outside particular norms, I think that's your answer. I wouldn't tolerate it. Then again, it's not my company and my bottom line, but there's got to be a way. Is there a company that you can think of that has made a change to how it manages customer relations such that it's model for other companies? Amazon. Is there room for companies? CVS. Target. Kroger. Is there a room for companies to fail at customer relationship management and then later succeed if they incorporate what they learned along the way? Could they start off with a transactional Groupon-like loyalty card, Barnes & Noble, and eventually evolve into something much more advanced like Amazon? I hope so. But usually what happens is the dominant strategy and the corporate culture within the firm that agrees to the Groupon-like loyalty card, it's a lot harder road to climb unless you get significantly pushed from above to do more bottom-up Amazon-like one-to-one. Because otherwise, if they have a short-term goal-oriented, non-market-oriented mentality, I don't know how much learning they're going to do along the way. Should marketing groups take the lead and spend money on educating employees in various departments? No. No, 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 no. This is the question that I'm glad you are asking, that by the end of the semester, you're not going to think like this anymore. It's MO, market-oriented. No silos, not just marketing. No. What is the best strategy a company can employ to go about renegotiating their customer relationships? A learning strategy, a listening strategy, an empathy strategy, an external orientation strategy? I think that's how you do it. How can companies know the types of relationships customers want, and by what means? You learn, you collect data, you ask questions. I mean, the typologies that are on page 2, there were certain characteristics, it's not page 2, it's page 74, page 2 of the article. Certain characteristics came into these relationship quadrants. Okay? You can learn and move beyond that. Data analysis is not important to CRM. Data analysis is vital to CRM. Companies can gather data and analyze customers' information in order to know which customer segment contributes the most revenue. That's part of it. But this is probably more practicable for online retailers. It's not more practical for online retailers. It's just easier for online retailers. There you go. So how could physical stores like Walmart, Walgreens, and Stop and Shop, where most of the customers do personal information, relationship? We're going to do omni-channel in about 2 weeks. We're going to do branding next, I believe, and then we do omni-channel. Okay? And what happens is that Walgreens and Walmart and Stop and Shop think that online is different than in person. Warby Parker does not. Warby Parker is 100% agnostic. So whether that relationship starts in person or whether that relationship starts online, think about how you buy with Amazon. If there was an Amazon store, which there really isn't, but they think there are, but there isn't, and you were to go into an Amazon store, then guess what? You would shop the same way in an Amazon store as you did online. As a matter of fact, the one grocery store that Amazon is piloting which would be a great omni-channel topic talk, by the way. There's no cash register, people. It's your phone. You walk into the store and you log online, okay? If you don't log online, you can't purchase anything in the store. It's that simple. You can't buy anything. And anytime you put something into the cart, as soon as you put it into the cart, you actually purchased it. The transaction is done. If you take it out, the transaction gets credited. If it's in your cart, the transaction is real. Go find that topic talk. I hope this was better, folks. Don't know how long this took, but I will take a look. It has to be shorter than what we've done in the past. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Enjoy.